I like your hand countdown. That's nice. What up, everybody? Welcome back to Reseller Unscripted. Today, we're getting into a topic that's sort of an elephant in the room. Who shouldn't be a reseller? We've all seen the TikToks, the Instagram reels, the whatnot clips, people making thousands of dollars in a minute. And look, reselling can be incredible, it can be life changing. But the truth is, it's not for everybody. This episode is for anybody that's thinking about jumping into the game, or maybe you're already in it and you're just wondering why it's not working. Why can't I do what everybody else is doing? We're going to go get into the real talk here, backed by actual data and seller experience. A little caveat, I just want you all to know this is not meant in any way to discourage anybody from jumping into reselling. We just want you to have all the facts, and you know how we are here. We're going to keep it real, and you're going to listen to comments and experiences from some of the best in the game here. So I'm joined, as always, by Daily Refinement, Smart Threads, and our Cozy Corner. We're going to jump into it. The first segment, we're going to talk about why this episode matters. So I'm going to open the floor. I think we decided maybe Ari's going to take the first one here.
Sure.
Who is this episode for? What do you think? Who do you think will take the most from this? And who do you think needs to listen real closely and key in right now?
Thanks, Dusty. Also, I'm really thankful to be here again for episode 2, and I hope everybody enjoyed episode 1. The reason why I feel it is a need to do this episode is because right now, live selling is still such a taboo thing, but so many people that are already reselling, whether it's a yard sale, whether you're reselling on eBay, Poshmark, Craigslist, Mercari, it doesn't matter. What is live sales, right? And what you need to understand is that, can I do it, or is it not for me? Or is there a way that I can leverage what I'm already doing to be successful in live selling? It's not as simple as just making an account on our website, saying that I have, X, Y, and Z product. There's so much more that goes into being a good host rather than already having product. And today, I think what I want to focus on the most is what it takes to be a good host. Because just because you have the best of the best product does not mean that you're going to have success in selling that product. But what I'm going to do today, and what my peers are going to do today, is we are going to uncover on what it takes to be the best host.
Love that. All right, Chris, maybe you jump in.
Who do we think? Who do we think this up?
Episode? Yeah, who's this for, and who's going to take the most from it?
So I think this episode is for anyone who's considering either doing reselling as a part-time income, or they're trying to do it as a full-time income. I think there's a bunch of different categories of people looking for extra money, people looking for part-time money, and people looking for like a long-term career change. So, we've done all of those versions. So it's interesting that we can compare what it's like to just do your first show. The first show I did, I made a little extra money, and I was like, do I want to do this regularly? Do I just want to do it once in a while? Do I want to do it with staff? So it's interesting thinking about the different categories of how you can approach reselling. I think this is for people who are interested in learning about side hustles, because I also think that what we are doing is so much more difficult than people who sell services. So I would recommend, if you're just getting started, don't sell physical products. There's inventory to deal with, shipping. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it. Versus a service, you could just walk somebody's dog and get paid right now. And that's more straightforward. There's no product to manage. So I think for people looking for easy money, this is probably not it. Even going to a garage sale and flipping it is harder than any basic service, because you still have to know which thing to buy at the garage sale, and how to sell it is very complicated if you've never done it before. Shipping something is hard. So I think it's for people who want to take the time to learn. There's a saying that sales is a transfer of energy from one person to another. If you want to learn that skill, it can transfer to literally everything, because it's so important to communicate. So even if you don't resell and you listen to this podcast, or especially this episode, you'll get an idea of what it's like to do that. And then it transfers to literally how you talk to your spouse, how you talk to your kids, how you talk to somebody when you're buying something at the grocery store, how to get the person at the post office. at 4 o'clock who's ready to go home to actually help you instead of just saying, show up to the post office with no pen, no address, and you're just holding up the whole line. That's what the post office is to me. If you've ever been recently, no one is prepared with anything. As soon as they get to the counter, they're like, okay, what do I do? And then the post office person has no idea what you want. That's how I feel. It feels like when you're entering online sales, you'd have no idea what anything is. And I guess one last thought. In the beginning, every single thing you do takes like 20 minutes. Like you try to figure out, how do I hook up the printer? 20 minutes goes by. What size paper am I supposed to use? 20 minutes goes by. So like your hourly rate is super duper negative in the beginning, but it doesn't mean it's not a huge opportunity for you in the future. It's just in the beginning, you're going to be paying to learn, right? So I don't know if this exists out there, but if you guys could try to find a job working at any e-commerce center, even Amazon, work for Amazon. I think something like 5 million people have worked for Amazon before. You have a really good idea of how it works when you see the level of efficiency where they don't even let you go to the bathroom for longer than 3 minutes. That's the ultimate version of what we do, all the way down to you selling your first thing from your closet. So this is for people trying to figure that all out.
That's awesome. I think you bring up a really good point and kind of just an overarching like character thing. I think it's so easy for people. Let's take Instagram. You swipe through Instagram and you're like, man, I wish I had what that couple has. I wish I could go on that vacation. I wish I could do those things. And I think it's easy to get stuck in that mindset of like wanting what the next person has. So when you see these reels and these people post these things about, oh man, I just got on and I sold $10,000. I didn't have any experience. There's likely not a ton of truth to that. Likely that person put in years and years of work and effort to get to that point, and they're just creating something good for social media that brings in clicks. It's not always necessarily the truth. So I think it's really important for people to understand, we talked about that a little bit on the first episode, but just understanding that there's a lot that goes into this. It is a business, and it takes a lot of work and effort. It isn't generally something that somebody can just up and, I'm going to Goodwill, I'm grabbing a couple things, and I'm going to make 100K this year doing that. So I think you bring up a really great point on that, Chris. I think that that's super important. Everyone here that you see here has had years of experience in the past before we even got to our whatnot stage of live selling, where we put in years of effort to be able to do what we do. So we'll jump to Laura next and get her thoughts. Who do you think this podcast is for, hon?
Well, it's gonna be really tough to go after Chris because that was an amazing answer. So I think it's honestly for everyone because we're gonna be talking about the beginning, and then we're gonna talk about like who's in the middle of like what do you call like a I'm already having a brain freeze. Like
Yeah, good. Beginning, middle.
regular I don't like to say big sellers, regular and small sellers. I just don't like to put them into categories, but let's say someone that sells for less than 100,000. Um and then we're going
Is
to
that per
have
year?
well, per year or per month. Like
Copy.
and then we're going to have the larger scale sellers who sells in the millions, whether that's per month or per year. And I know that Chris can probably talk about that a little bit later because he was the one that brought it up, but not many people sell on that super high scale. So I think majority of the people that we're going to reach today is going to be either beginners or it's going to be people that's like already quit their full-time job and they're full-time reselling. So yeah, I honestly can't even touch on it as well as Chris did. He hit the nail in the coffin there.
No, I think you bring up a good point because the beginning, middle, and end of people's journeys is so different. So when I did a poll for resellers that 2,000 people answered, and I put, do you sell 0 to 5 items a day, 5 to 10 items a day, 10 to 20 items a day, or 20 or more items a day? Those were my criteria that I sent this poll out. of the 2,000 people, only 5 people sold more than 10 items a day. It was like 99% of people sell 5 items a day or less. So I just, one last thought on who this podcast is for. Um, I think all of us, we can tell you what price you have to pay to
Mm,
get to whatever level you want to be. So if you're like,
mm,
I want to do $100 million a year, there are resellers that do that, and I can kind of tell you what that looks like. And I have looked at resellers and said, you paid a price that is too high. I can't pay that price that you paid to get what you want. I respect what you did, and I realize how much you paid to get that. I've seen literally somebody with 100,000 feedback before, all 5-star reviews. Um, and just to think of doing 100,000 transactions and nobody leaving you lower than a 5-star is incomprehensible, really, to me, how you can even achieve that kind of thing.
Mhm.
But no, behind the scenes, the price that he paid for that is probably 18 hours a day for a decade to get to the point where every single transaction is perfect. That's extremely unusual to get to that kind of level. And I think there's probably 10 people on earth with that many positive reviews. So it's like that price that he paid is different than you want to make some extra money this weekend. So you go to your closet with a clear tote, put 10 things in it, go take some pictures, bust out a live stream. You paid a very small price. So you're just getting a little small reward for it. So I think that reselling is so fair. It just gives you sort of a reflection of what the effort is you put in. And
Mhm.
when I see stuff not going right, I already know it's because of things I didn't do that caused that. Most of the time, like
what do
maybe
you
every
mean
single
by that?
time, it's what I mean is like if a show doesn't start on time or a listing doesn't, if I'm trying to list 15 items and only 3 go up, or I'm trying to do a show and it's an hour late, that's because it wasn't prepped properly. It's like it's not, I try not to blame a streamer or my lister or my photographer because it's not, if they get to work and it's not ready, there's the chances of them being able to complete it on time is almost zero. And it's almost like if it's not ready a week ahead of the time, then it's not getting done. And then if you're like Nike,
Mhm.
each shoe design comes out 2 years before it hits the shelf is when they start doing it. So it's
Mhm.
like very long term, super duper planned. Imagine 1,000 stores in the US are supposed to get the same shoe on the same day. That's not like a week of planning. That's like several years
No.
of planning. And on that exact day, Serena Williams is wearing those shoes at Wimbledon. That's not an accident. That's like
It's years and years and years of
years and years of
Yeah.
planning. So that's where I want people to, like, when you bust your butt and you make $20 on a Saturday, that's what's supposed to happen.
it's a
Don't get
victory.
discouraged because that's the beginning part of it.
I
Yep.
totally agree with what you said. The more you put in, the more you get out. And it all stems from us as operators. Like what me and you were talking about earlier today, Chris, it's like if we don't set up our shows properly, then we're not setting anybody up for success. Like it stems from us giving clear, concise direction, and then the team's executing based off of the direction, and then everybody is set up for success. So the more you put in is obviously 100% the more you put out. So I 1000% agree with you how you said that, if Nancy in Oklahoma went through her closet and grabbed, 15 different items and she made $35, like that's a victory at the end of the day.
And most likely, most of those items won't sell.
Yeah.
So there's
So
there's people. Yeah, go ahead.
YouTube put up the shows for your streamers?
Yeah.
I do. Yeah,
We do
Okay.
it all.
and I
Okay,
think
well,
it's a huge mistake. But go ahead. Go ahead.
I so we have a streaming manager who puts it up, but I tell her what to put up, but she sets it up. I have trained her on how to set it up.
So like I've trained my people and our team members to set up shows, but it also just comes down to me thinking like, is it set up the right way? And part of me is like needing to just like let it
Let it
go.
go. Yeah,
Like letting it go. Like, for example, I think the most
it's our baby.
successful people have shows already pre-set up for a week
100%.
out.
Yeah.
Like what I've been doing is it's like as of the day, like because like I'm in a small office in Manhattan. I have a warehouse in New Jersey where all the freight gets brought, then it gets brought to the city, put in a basement, and then we try to curate as quick as possible for a show. So like if we were able to fully curate shows prior, then the sell-through is going to be so much better. For example, I had a brand the other day where I had clear, concise communication on we want to sell sets in the morning, we want to sell maxi dresses at this hour, and you can see that average ASP, which stands for average sales price, and GMV, we were able to move through all of that inventory so much smoother, and we had 100% sell-through. Versus right now, for example, we were going to sell a brand, but it wasn't prepped properly, so we made a last-minute decision to sell another brand. But if you do prep your shows perfectly, you will have a better sell-through. If you know what items you're going to sell out of your closet in Oklahoma, and you prepare yourself and you know what you're going to talk about, then you're going to have much better sell-through. But like to go off your thing is like, I wish that, my schedule was pre-planned out 2 months to a month in advance. All the shows were already pre-built out. All the thumbnails were built out. All the auction items were built out. Am I going to sell in bulk? Am I going to sell singles? Am I going to sell doubles? There's so much that goes into this versus you walking into a coffee shop and somebody selling you a grande cappuccino. Like this is systematic and it takes a lot of psychology too. And also planning out the shows to ensure that one, your buyers stay interested, and two, you have proper sell-through. Like I could sit here and sell Gucci shoes all day long, but it doesn't mean I'm going to sell more than 5-6 pairs. But if I have a proper show set up, then maybe I'll sell 50 pairs. So again, it totally comes down to what you put in.
Yeah, I think that, Chris, that's a really awesome point. There's an investment level for each seller. We talked about it on the first episode. Anybody can jump in at any point,
That's
no matter
Ari.
what. No, Chris was talking about it initially.
Chris was talking about it initially, and then I jumped
Yeah.
in and just piggybacked off of it.
Okay. He mixes you two up all the time. I'm not going to lie.
That is fair. That is fair.
It's my brother from another mother over there. Daily
But
refinement.
That anybody can do it, and we had talked about that in the first episode. Anybody can jump in, and to Ari's point, you can jump in and you can be successful. But I think the biggest thing that we're trying to get at, and like who shouldn't be a reseller, is what do we do from there? Anybody can go on and do it once. Can you repeat it? Can you scale it? And so we're trying to uncover who's got the right mindset to be able to be successful in this business. Because yes, anybody can get on and do it one time, and that's great. And if it's your weekend, let's just make a couple bucks. That's a totally different conversation than what we're talking about today. We're talking about actually becoming a true reseller and scaling your business and trying to replicate the things that you're seeing on social media, or maybe the scale of the businesses that we're talking about here. So we're going to jump into the next section and titled just that: mindset of people who shouldn't be a reseller. So we got a few notes in the chat, just so you guys know if you need a little prompt on this one. But I want each of you to give me an example of a mindset that is not, in your mind, going to be successful in the reselling world. So I'll start with Ari. Ari, if you want to give us a person or a mindset of like, okay, if you're coming in with this mindset or you're thinking this, it's probably not going to be a successful thing for you.
So I'm just going to be really blunt. Like this takes literally blood, sweat, and tears. If you're a yard seller, or if you're just looking to sell a couple Pokemon cards or a couple, this and that, this is not what this podcast is about. I'm just going to stop you right there. This is for somebody that's looking to turn this into a career and actually make an income. You need to have the will to hunt, and you need to have the will for something to win. If you are not going to be dedicated to selling and having bad days and good days and dealing with the ups, the downs, like the highs are the highs in this business and the lows are the lows. You need to be someone that is willing to hunt. When I say hunt, that means you need to be a go-getter. Anybody in sales is a natural born hunter. Either you have it or you don't, is the way I look at sales. But a lot of people don't know that they're hunters, and they're actually farmers, which mean they're very, very good people, which they can Be a hunter. If you're somebody that is good with people, if you're somebody that, can understand how to talk about a product on the fly, not sound robotic, then this is perfect for you. If you're already working in a job at McDonald's, or if you're working at a job at a dealership, if you're working at a retail store, if you're working at a corporate America company where you're doing some level of sales, this is perfect for you. I didn't have the traditional come up. I've been in sales my whole life from retail. I've had my fair share in corporate America. I was a recruiter. I've done this odd job. And it all just pulls into what I'm doing now, which is reselling. I'm passionate about, clothing. I'm passionate about all the things that we sell. And I'm also a people person at the end of the day. So if you are somebody that truly is not going to put blood, sweat, and tears, if you're somebody that is not going to do what it takes to win, and if you're just looking to make a quick buck, sure, you can go on camera, you can sell a couple things. It might not be the outcome that you want, but if you're somebody that is going to be dedicated to this can turn into an income not only for yourself, but also generational. And that's
Someone's
also,
in trouble.
in New York City on my street, it's like the fire department's coming here every day, so that's one thing about me on this podcast, that you will hear the unscripted sounds of New York City. So apologies beforehand.
I love that. Awesome. And a great point.
I'm going to mute myself because I think they're like,
It's so
move
good.
out of the way.
It's perfect. It's just
It's
what we
brutal.
needed
I
here.
mean, we have people crawling in through the steam grates, getting into my boiler room, wrapping paper towels around their feet and yanking doors open and running out with shoes. It's like instead of gone in 60 seconds, it's gone in 2 minutes. And there's no proper execution on that. But, this is New York City, baby. This is raw. This is uncut. And yeah, I'm going to mute myself because it sounds like something's popping off downstairs.
Anything goes, really. All right, Chris, give us a profile of somebody or a mindset of someone who shouldn't be a reseller.
I'm gonna go such a different direction than Ari, so I'm excited about this. Okay, so I have now interviewed definitely thousands of people, and now I literally, like, when I'm on a resume, what I'm looking for is like, have you worked food service before? Have you talked to customers in real life? Because that's a huge advantage. So if you have talked to customers in real life and you've had somebody be angry with you because you didn't do something right, and you learned how to navigate that, either being a bartender or a server or a line cook or something where you actually deal with an angry customer, that's a huge plus. Fast pace is also interesting. I don't know if you can teach fast. This is something I'm not sure if you can teach somebody to actually move quicker. But I think you can teach accuracy. So if you have the person that can solve problems, then I think you can teach them to be accurate. But now I'll give you an example. Right now, my job interview is literally one question. Okay, they come in after I've met them and did the full thing. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to put you on the spot right now. This printer is broken. Now what? Okay, and 9 out of 10 people have no idea. They don't jiggle the cord. They don't turn it off and on. They don't Google. They have no idea. And I don't know how they made it to this point in their life where they have zero clue on how to fix a printer. Because like that to me just shows a lack of resourcefulness, and that is who should not resell. If you say you've tried everything and your printer still doesn't work, this is not the right industry for you, because the people who've tried, there is no such thing as trying everything. There's hundreds of different ways to approach something. And when you go to a tech store and you're like, hey, my computer doesn't work, they charge you $69 to turn it off and turn it on again. And that solves 99% of the problems with people's computers and phones, is just resetting it. And they didn't even try that. And that's literally if you Google, my computer doesn't work, the first thing it says is it plugged in?
Did you turn it off?
Did you turn it off? Did you turn it on? Is there what did you do last time? And they're like, oh, last time I spilled my drink on it. Could that have something to do with it? You know what I mean? Like, there's no actual problem solving ability. And this is so frustrating to me, because for me, I never say I've tried everything. And I hear that from so many people. I've tried everything and my sales are slow. And I just feel like you've maybe tried one thing. You maybe tried one thing because there's just so much that goes into it. And like, as long as you are willing to try again, you're basically unstoppable. That's the main difference is we hit a roadblock and then just continued. You know, sometimes we continued with a smile on our face, right? And it gets infinitely more complex when you add anything. It's not like it's not easier with more people. It's harder. It's not easier with more inventory. It's harder. It's not easier with more capital. It's more challenging. Everything is more difficult the larger it is. And if you were to like ask me what is the best possible advice to get from a small seller to a big seller, it's just a big seller does the right things more often. It's the same thing as being a small seller. It's not like as a big seller you can skip describing the item, right? You can't skip the title. You can't skip the photos. You can't skip being professional. You can't skip saying please and thank you. You can, but then you're not going to get the results that you're looking for. So like a large seller that does a good job, you'll hear stuff like, wow, I can't believe how personable it is, even though this is a big company. Like and this is my favorite example. When you go to Apple, because they're the biggest company ever, they tell you, oh, thanks, Laura, for bringing in your iPhone to fix. It's going to be 27 days before we can help you, but we'll send you a text when we're ready. And she's like, great. And she just gets in her car and she knows exactly what's going to happen. Even though it's a 27-day wait, she's still got personalized service. So this is where the difference is between, like, if you want to make it, all you have to do is just not give up. Your printer doesn't work, try again. And then ask, like, hey, I tried this and it didn't work. What do you think? Right? I just can't believe how many people I have interviewed that have zero idea how to even start. And I just don't get it because, you know, you don't have to be super tech savvy to be a reseller, but if you can't figure out how to reset your password, that's fine. You just have to look at the screen will say forgot password, and then you try, right? And that's like all the things that we've done we've not seen before. That's I think the greatest piece of encouragement I can give you guys. We have no idea.
Honestly, like that just totally warped my whole sense of how I want to start running interviews more, because before it was like, can you sell? And instead it's, you're completely right. Cause like whenever you're selling, you have to change things up as you go. You have to move with the audience in like waves.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You have to
solve the problem.
You have to move with the customer.
You have to be able to solve problems.
Yes.
You can't, and I can totally relate to what you said. It's like, oh, my sales are down. Well, don't bring me problems. Bring me a solution. Have you tried to do it this way? Have you tried to do it that way?
Yep.
And that's the way that I think too. Like if I ever am noticing something is going wrong, I immediately think, okay, I'm going to fix it. And I start trying to do a bunch of things. And what you said is about when you're hiring people, it's like, go and fix this printer. If they can't figure it out, they don't have, the will to try and fix things.
They don't have to figure it out. They just have to try.
They have to try. Exactly.
Yeah.
Versus like, don't go on camera and just go sell this dress. Like either it's going to sell or it's not. But like what happens when you sell through like 20 items and nothing sells? Instead of panicking like, oh, nothing's selling, what do you do to fix it? So those two, whatever you just said, like what you said there really ties in together.
I'll give you one more example.
I think everybody should listen to what Chris said. If you're out there and you're hiring right now, like replay what Chris said. Instead of sell me the pen, untangle the iPhone cords and then see if they can do that.
Well, I think that, like, as an example, we sell live. A lot of us sell live, right? And sometimes a customer will ask something like, hey, I sent in a DM and I haven't gotten a response yet, right? And it will cause some people to freeze, right? If you're not an experienced streamer or you've never seen that before, you're like, oh no, I don't know what to do, right? But since I've done it before, I'll ask a follow-up question. How long ago did you send an inquiry? Or, no problem. Let me know what it is that you are inquiring about. And this happened yesterday. How long ago did my staff said, I apologize for your experience. How long ago did you send a DM? And she said, right now. I just sent one right now. And she's like, she said, oh, unfortunately, our customer service agents aren't available in real time, but we will get back to you in 24 or 48 hours. Don't worry. We take care of everybody. You could also say like, shut up or block this person, and
I hope
that is not the right solution, right? So there's like a way to like you're supposed to like
You may think
you're
that
supposed
inside.
you may think that on the inside, but you don't say that.
you
So
need to
like this
touch
is the
everybody. Like everybody wants to be heard, is what I've learned. Like I'll look at
of
like I
course.
don't handle customer service anymore, but just because like I care so much about this business, I'm always at nighttime going through the messages, making sure everybody's been, responded to. People want to be heard. It's the same thing if you're going to buy $5,000 or $100,000 worth of inventory. People want to be heard. So like this, like what Chris is saying too, like with customer service, like it's the most important thing ever, which I'm sure we'll cover later in this episode. But like selling is 1/5 of the battle. Everything else on the back end is what is going to make you a successful reseller. Because if you screw up customer service in the beginning, you're going to sink.
But it's just the trying to genuinely help people, and like the like I have it's so difficult to do it properly. You can and properly just means like there's the golden rule, which people say treat people how you want to be treated, but then there's the platinum rule, which is treat people how they want to be treated. If you can't figure out how they want to be treated, then your response to it may not work. Like if you were to say, "Did you try Googling it?" That may be how you want to
Those
receive
are
it.
fighting words.
But for most people, they would consider that extremely rude. So it just depends on like, do you want it straight? Like my favorite thing about people on the East Coast, especially New York City, is they will just tell you what they want.
Yeah.
On the West Coast, where I'm from, people don't tell you what they want until like six days later. They're like, "You didn't know that I wanted this." I'm like, "No, you didn't tell me."
Mm-hmm.
And
Same
on the East Coast, it's very straightforward. Yeah, in the Midwest, they're known for saying like 20-minute goodbyes.
Well,
That's
and
so
they're known
true.
for just being so nice, even though they go behind your back and not nice.
And this is why it's shocking to me that I live on the West Coast and almost all my deals come from the East Coast, like Florida, North Carolina, New York, because people are just more straightforward. And you know, I remember one of the suppliers near here who I literally invited him to my wedding because he was such an important part of my business. Okay.
I love
He
that.
and I'm like, you're like literally in my family. I'm inviting you to my wedding. And then because I had my final straw, he's like, "Hey, do you want to like grab lunch?" And I'm like, "No, I just want to know what you have. Please just tell me what you have in your warehouse." He's like, "No, you got to come up. We'll have lunch and we'll talk about it." And I'm like, "That's it." And I blocked him. I blocked somebody who was my biggest supplier because he wouldn't just tell me what he has. I'll come have lunch with you. Just tell me what you have first.
But I mean, it goes
I
hand in hand.
can't
Like
believe
I've worked with some suppliers too that like they want to like sit down and have a lunch and talk. It's like it's more like if you want to
No,
be
I get
successful
it.
in this business, like you cannot be like yes, some people are extremely, extremely, extremely successful in this business by being 1,000% transactional.
Yeah.
Okay, people that are going to get a deal and go to the next. They're gonna buy it. They're gonna flip it. They're gonna move to the next. Buy it, flip it, and go to the next. Versus if you can build a true relationship, because Chris, this is something that me and you have talked about a bunch, and I'm sure everybody else can relate to this. Is I can walk up to a very well-known brand with a briefcase full of cash, but they'll say no. We're already working with Chris or whoever else because it's relationship driven and it's all built off trust. Like same, you just cannot be transactional in this business if you want to go far for the long time.
yeah.
Got to be, I guess, a little bit of both.
Let's have Laura jump in. Laura, give me an example of a mindset that you think will be unsuccessful as a reseller.
100% if you come in with the mindset thinking that you're going to sell $5,000 and cash out $5,000 profit. Because it costs money for the product. It costs money to have either yourself or another employee to sell it. And also if you like if it takes you 5 days to sell 100 items, you're also not making money. So just I think a lot of people who has never been in reselling and who has never like sold more than like one item a day don't fully understand like how much money it actually takes to buy these deals is on the scale that we are currently buying. Um, and also like how much risk there is. And we don't just open our screen or go live and then bring all this product and then we sell for $50,000 a show and it's all just going straight into our bank account. It like the inventory costs money and we don't disclaimer, we don't get it for $1. So yeah, I think just coming in with a mindset of it's going to be a grind. It's going to make you good money, but it's going to take hard work to make good money.
I think that's a great segue into our next section. What does real success look like? I think kind of back to like what we were talking about at the beginning, it's so easy to take things at face value. You can jump on Whatnot, like Laura was talking about, and oh my gosh, this person's got 1,000 people in their room and they just sold $100,000 worth of stuff. What did they actually make? Does it just look like they're making money, or are they actually making money? So as a listener, I want to help break down the difference between that. What is the difference between appearance and results? As Laura talked about, it's fine to go out and sell $1,000 worth of stuff, but if that stuff cost you $900 to go out and sell, plus your overhead and all the things you have invested in that, you're not reselling. You're giving your money away. You're not actually a profitable business. You're just throwing money out the window at that point. How do you turn it into something that is truly successful? Because I know there are people that sell in a whole bunch of different categories. Some do high-end designer, and it's like, man, you're putting up big numbers, but their profit margins are this tiny. Where there's somebody who's selling super cheap stuff, and they only brought in $2,000 in the show, but $1,800 of that was profit. So there's two ways that you can go about doing that. So I just want to pick you guys' brain a little bit on what is that recipe, or what was the point where you were like, man, okay, I think I've got a model here that's scalable. I think I got a model here that is actually a true business that's going to work, as compared to I got on and I sold a few things. Because there's a lot of different ways to look at success, but success in the mode that we're talking about is truly being able to sell something for a profit as a business, still function, and not go, negative in your bank account. So Ari, I'll let you lead off on that one. What does real success look like to you? And I know that's a big thing to unpackage, but maybe give some thought points on some of the markers that you look at in your day-to-day of like, okay, we were successful today because we put up X amount of money, or because we sold through so many items, or because I have a great culture in my office, or maybe it's all those things combined.
Sure. I think the most important thing that boils down to success for me is my team successful, and does everybody feel like they're winning, and was everybody set up to win on that day? I feel like true success for me is when I can work. So there's in the business and then there's out of the business. I feel like there's true success. Sorry, there's another fire engine going
You're
by.
good.
True success would be that I can have a very successful, the team has a very successful day while I work on everything outside of the business. Because when everything starts going well within the business, that is when you can be very scalable. When your processes are perfect, when your shows are starting on time, when your items are having a high sell-through rate, when you're achieving a level of margin that makes sense for your company, where you're not ending upside down. Because let's say I buy something for, I can just give you an example. So let's say, I do $10,000 in a show, right? What people don't understand is like, yes, like I can post that I just did $10,000 in my show, but that is just revenue. And a lot of people don't understand that there's COGS, there's platform fees, there's shipping related costs involved, there's labor costs, there's operational costs, you have returns, refunds, mistakes, and you have like taxes down the line, So like if I was to hypothetically just sell $10,000, that might only mean that we only made between $1,000 and $1,500 in my pocket. So like, yes, it's great. I sold $10,000 in a show, but really, if I'm not operating at the correct margins, you're only taking home $1,000, right? And then you want to have to replicate that and replicate that and replicate that and replicate that. And that is what takes precision, time, process. And when you can move your business from working into the business to out of the business, that is what success is. Because when you're working outside of the business, that's when you're expanding. That's when you're going down to other avenues. That's why everybody needs to focus on the one thing. There's a very good book out there called The One Thing. And that one thing, if you focus and tune in on the one thing, you can branch down into other things. So, right, I have Smart Threads. Then I have Smart Threads Boutique. I have Smart Threads Bulk. And then I have a whole nother company that actually, if we're going to do an inverted pyramid, that sits at the bottom and then everything flows in to it. I may have explained that wrong, but when you focus on the one thing, it allows you to branch out into all different areas. Great, my channel is doing very, very well right now. We have great viewership. We're achieving great ASP. We're getting good margin. Our sellers are happy. We have inventory coming in all the time. We have inventory moving out. Our shipping team's doing a great job. Culture is at an all-time high. Okay, Mazal, great. Everybody is happy. Now you can work on the stuff outside of the business. I want to start wholesaling to everybody else. I want to start doing a podcast. I want to create help videos. You cannot have success until your business is running smoothly. Otherwise, you won't be able to focus on all the other things. All your ideas are going to be great, but if you run too fast before you walk, you're going to end up upside down. So like just because you see somebody post on Instagram that today I did $100,000 in sales. Well, mazal to you, congratulations. That's a lot of revenue in a day. But how much money did you make? People don't understand that some people work off of 10% margin. Some people work off 30% margin. Some people work off 67% margin. Chris, you know who I'm talking about. Like it all boils down to your business and what you need to be successful. My warehousing costs, my office costs, my staff costs are a lot different than most people, considering I'm in New York City. New York is a very expensive place. It costs $5.39 for a grande cup of coffee. It costs $6 for a slice of pizza. Whereas in California, it could be different, or in Minnesota, it could be different. Success boils down to what you deem is successful. So I think truly success, just to piggyback off what I said, is when you can confidently and smoothly work on whatever is your plans outside of the business, while the inside of the business runs smoothly.
Love that. Chris, do you want to jump in next and just give us a little feedback? Same questions. Where was the point where you were like, okay, I've got a recipe for success, and in your day-to-day moving forward from there, what were your anchor points of like, okay, I'm hitting this benchmark. I know I'm being successful as a business.
Okay, I love how different of an approach I'm going to take this question than Ari. It's literally so different. Okay, so this is how I look at success. I mean, this might sound a little crazy, but I actually think it's total bank account improvement. So like, let me give you an example. If you bought one thing at a garage sale for $1, okay, and then you sold it for $2,500 cash, and you made a $2,499 profit, right? And you just called your friend, and they came and they dropped off the bag of money, and you gave them the rare World War II coin, right? That's I can't even calculate the percentage of profit. It's like 2,000,000% profit, right? Turned $1 into 2,500. Your bank account went up $2,499, right? That though, compared to somebody who operates at a 1% profit, let's say like Walmart as an example, their profit margins are 1%. If you Google what is Walmart's profit margin, it's 1%. Okay, they sell everything at the lowest possible price, and that they can do it again tomorrow, right? The Walton family is the richest family ever. Every single person that was born in the family is like the richest person. Combined, he made more money as the greatest merchant of all time, right? So I look at it, total bank account means generally most happy customers. Almost everybody who sells the most things has the best margin, because when you figure out ways to improve the margin as you are selling lots of things. The only caveat to that is, if you start with a model that doesn't earn money, it doesn't magically earn money later. You have to start with a model that's profitable, and it gets less profitable over time, but you sell enough units to make it work. I'm going to give you guys this example because I'm obsessed with it. Starbucks has operated at an 80% profit margin since they started. A $5 cup of coffee costs $1 in raw goods. Now, the $5, right, that they receive, it costs them $3 to deliver the coffee. $1 is the cup and the coffee. That's it. Then they get $5 from the customer on average, and it costs them $3 to get the coffee to the person. Now, this is really, really important because most people are not buying something for $10 and selling it for $50. Most people are reselling. You can buy something for $1 and sell it for $5, right? And you'll have that same margin. But here's the thing that I think is so important with successful resellers. You can't start with buying for $1 and selling it for $2. There's no room for mistakes. If you listen to Howard Schultz, the person who created Starbucks, he's like, the margin was so high, I was able to be a little bit sloppy in the beginning and figure it out along the way. But imagine if he was selling a cup of coffee for $1.50 and paid $1. There's no room for error. Then that's where the success part is hard, because you have to start with a profitable model. And then over time, the margin does not go up. It never goes up. It always goes down because there's always more expenses. If you are at home in your basement living with your parents, there could not be a greater opportunity than you ordering stuff online, gets shipped to your door. Just eat ramen from your parents, right? You you post it online. There are websites online that you don't pay the fees until after it sells, right? Whatnot is one of those platforms. You can pay after they give you the money. You can pay the fees after, right? They even take their money out of the money they give to you. So it's like, what is success? It's just, in a simple definition, is being able to do business tomorrow. So don't do something that you'll go out of business. Number two, total bank account improvement is like, if one person made $5 million and another person made $500, I would say the person that made millions of dollars is more successful, because the number of happy customers that they need to serve to get there would require you to be a good boss, be good with your employees, be good to suppliers. There's no way to get to that point if you're a dick. I just have not seen that. All the people I know that are really successful are nice. I don't know anybody that, like, maybe they're like, I'll give you health insurance and I'll give you paid time off so that you stay at the company, but they're not doing it. They're not giving away money. They're doing it for retention. They're doing it to provide a good working place so they have no turnover. There's so many companies where, like, I'm super proud that my longest employee has been with me for 4 years. And like, that's cool to me. You were able to provide a job for someone for a long time, but look at the people who have people working for them their entire life, right? And then think about, if you hire somebody and they make more money than they cost for 50 years, that's complete. That's the definition of success to me. Whoever makes the most money is the most successful, because they probably did the most right things along the way. Even though that sounds crazy, I don't know if people want to hear that, but I honestly think the people who make the most money, they probably did the most right things. I'm not saying they didn't squish some bugs along the way or some people or hurt people or whatever, but I'm just saying, like, you can't sell 100,000 units and piss off 98,000 of them. You got to do a pretty decent job. So I don't know. It's a different way of looking at it.
I think that's a great way to look at it, and and just like in short, saying that, like, you're not gonna fall into success generally. It takes hard work and it takes doing the right thing over and over again. And I think that's really great. All the pieces of success that might be smaller metrics that people look at are all kind of summed up in that. So that's great. Laura, you're up next. She's staring off in the distance like, oh man, what's going on here?
I no, seriously, I don't know how I got into this lineup because
We'll have
Chris, I know we'll change it, but Chris just has the most wonderful answers, and I'm like, how do I even? Okay,
I'm an
so
opener, and then Chris just like crushes every time.
I know I'm like,
You're the
I
okay,
closer.
like
leave a
learn
little
something
for the
new
rest of
every
us.
time.
That's
I
what we're here
think I
Like
for.
froze.
I learn something new every time, and now I see why me and Chris are talking more because he pulled. I'm not even joking. Chris pulled out 3 different examples of what me and him talked about earlier this week to things that I've done, and then or things that he's done that it's amazing. Like the whole entire thing with
Yeah,
like that you just spoke about Starbucks, Chris. Like I remember one of our talks this week, and
and
what you mentioned about like having a higher level of margin allows for mistakes.
Ari. Oh, I always like kind of Ari kind of freaks me out because he always talks about getting a really high margin, and I always think to myself, it's so difficult to get a high margin. But honestly, if you're not always thinking about that, you're just in trouble because the margin goes away so quickly. Anything happens and there's your margin gone. So like
yeah,
you got to start at 3x, 5x, and no one wants to hear that because Keystone in retail is literally 2x. It's Keystone. Literally a
yeah,
store buys something at half of what they sell it for.
100%. But also, it's like not if you don't pay attention to your margin in this business, you can very quickly end upside down
mm,
on a deal that could have costed
100%.
you a deal that may have costed $3 a unit, and you're like, wow, I'm selling it for $6 a unit. Or example, if I'm buying a deal at $15 a unit and I'm not selling it at the right margin, at a level like that, you can end, and you're like thinking to yourself, I'm like, wow, like I'm doing like 20, like it could be an amazing product, and you could be like, wow, I'm doing $20,000 a show or $30,000 a show. Yes, good job on your revenue, but like with all of your other factored in costs, it's especially with platform fees and maybe some returns that could happen down the line, or you paid for this to come in, or somebody sorted it, whatever. You can easily end upside down if you do not pay attention to your margin. Revenue is great at the end of the day. Anybody on paper that's a well established company has amazing revenue, but what you really need to look is, what is your margin? Like the fact that I didn't even know that Starbucks operates at an 80% margin. That's insane.
that's insane.
And the only way that it works is they make their own product all the way down to the beginning. You cannot achieve that buying goods. You have to make it.
And that's
So
the
that's
same
something to
thing
consider.
in reselling. If you go direct, you're gonna make a lot more money than if you're
100%.
like dealing with a brokers that got it from a different broker that got it from a different broker. So
Yep.
the more direct you can go, the better. But that doesn't always. It takes time, and it again comes back to the relationships. Like you have to reach out to them, and there has to be a constant like relationship going on there, because otherwise if you don't talk to your distributors, they will stop sending you deals and you're gonna just be alone on an island. Anyway, I'm gonna give my answer for true success. So I'm gonna keep it just pretty short because we're running out of time. Basically, I think my most important thing is that you treat people, aka your customers, with respect. If you don't have repeat customers, or if you don't treat them with respect, they're never going to come back, right? So obviously we're human, we make mistakes, but it's what happens after the mistakes, right? So if we accidentally sold a piece of clothing that had a flaw on it and we didn't see it and the customer gets it and we're like, well, of course you can return it for a full refund because we made a mistake. Now, if you're just going to ignore them after the fact, that and you don't stand up and say, okay, I made a mistake, then you're going to lose that customer and it's just going to continue in a cycle. So we are nothing without our customers. So we need to treat them as with respect as much as we treat our inventory. Like, we need our inventory and we need our customers. So, and then I think another thing is, like, for us, we know, I think it's 50-50. We have, what is the word for it? Like, personal shoppers, and then we have resellers buying from us. And as far as like the resellers coming back to us, it's really important that, of course, we sell the product at a profit to our business, but also so that the buyer who is going to flip it, they get a good deal as well. Because if they don't get a good deal and they can't flip it, they won't come back and buy. So I think I have other answers too, but I'm gonna keep it short and sweet.
Short and sweet. Okay, we got about 5 minutes left here, so we're gonna get final thoughts. I want each of you to kind of sum up. The name of the game of today was who shouldn't be a reseller, and I think in answering that question, we also kind of answer who should be a reseller. So if each of you could kind of just sum up your thoughts on these are the things that you really, really need to be successful in this business. If you're not willing to put in that kind of work, or you don't have that kind of perseverance, or you don't have that mindset, or you don't have this wisdom background, kind of all the things we've touched on, it's not going to be successful. But here's some of the things that you're definitely going to need moving forward. So just kind of give me your final thoughts on the episode, and then we'll transition out for our next one.
I'll go last. Ari.
I can go last.
Ooh, swapping it up.
All right, Laura, let's go first.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even listen to the question because I knew I was going last.
She had like an hour to prep for it. Final
Like
thoughts.
taking down
We just
notes, like what
wanna-
Chris is saying.
Yeah. We just want to know your final thoughts on, kind of tying up the episode. Who shouldn't be a reseller? And in that, we kind of answer the question of who should be. So in your mind, just kind of sum up what you think the biggest points were from this episode and what you want to leave people with.
Wait.
Hey, Ari, you want to jump in?
Yeah. So you were asking kind of like what my final thoughts are on this episode. And like, is that what it was?
I'm just going to end the episode. We're done. We're out of here. It's over. Finito. Elfine.
You want to be a
Hey, Chris.
reseller.
Do you want to do
Guys.
a podcast together?
No, I have a sick answer, but I don't want to go first. You guys go first.
Can you just repeat the
Okay.
question for me real quick? Thanks.
Maybe I should type it on the screen. The question is not even a question. It is what is your final thoughts on the episode? What do or don't you think is important for the listeners to know before we sign off and start our next episode?
Guys, you're not going to want to miss any of these next episodes. As you can see today, there was a lot of banter back and forth. Chris is the man of all the facts.
As he's pointing the opposite direction of Chris.
I'm your hype man. Laura's my hype girl. And honestly, again, we do not do this to make it so you don't want to do this. It truly does take a lot of dedication to be successful in this business. And, Chris touched on a lot of points today. Laura touched on a lot of points today. But, if the person that wants to be a reseller can be broken into a whole bunch of different categories, whether you are going to be selling out of your garage, whether you're going to be selling massive volume, whether you're listing on eBay, Poshmark, Mercari, Jamble, Ramble, Lamble, it does not matter. If you don't, in the beginning, put in the work, then you're going to get nothing out of this. And that's where I have to be. Just like if you listen to a couple episodes, yeah, you'll learn a couple things. But if you don't stick around for the whole season, well, we'll see you next year.
Laura?
Yes. I'm sorry. I'm completely in a different mindset right now. But just stay consistent. I'm sorry, guys. Chris,
That's
you
fine.
go ahead.
No, staying consistent is a probably a good final thought, because that's like most of reselling. Um, I guess my final thoughts for the episode is just, you know, I think people give up a little bit too easily with reselling. There are so many challenges. There's just going to be so many situations where there's a red light blinking and you don't know what's happening. But like everything that you've done before, somebody else, probably thousands of other people have done that, met that same obstacle. So did like what things do I sell? What sells well? How do I sell things faster? How do I sell things for more? Who should I talk to? Like when I first started reselling, I literally bought a ticket to fly down to meet the self-proclaimed greatest thrifter of all time. I'm like, okay, I didn't even know I'm the person that's donating stuff to Goodwill. I didn't even know there's this whole subworld of people that resell things for a full-time living. Let me go meet this guy, and went down there, and like in 15 minutes, he taught me more than I had, like a lifetime of knowledge from 15 minutes of just talking to this person. So like all the information that you need is out there, and the way that you use information ideally is you listen to something Laura said, like consistency is key, and then don't just let it go into the air. Write that down and then go home and say, how can I be more consistent? Does it mean I work on a schedule like a real job? Does it mean that I do the same things in the same order every day? Does it mean using a supplier again if they did a good job? Does it mean eBay is the original OG reselling platform, and they have a button called Sell Similar. And that button literally changed my life, because I found something that worked, click the Sell Similar button, put something else in that's almost the same. It does the same thing because similar people want it. And the Sell Similar, that's what I hope people see our podcast as, like see something that they like from, they like Dusty's microphones, so they pick one of those up. They like Ari's hat, they pick one of those up. They like the way Laura deals with employees, pick that up. It's like a cafeteria style of things that you can pick and choose from that you like. That's what you're supposed to do. Like I have my old boss used to read the same book like 8 times in a row. He didn't read 8 different books and do nothing. He would read the same book until that's it. All the ideas from that book were implemented into his business. And like he's a one tab open guy, one browser, one tab open, and made hundreds of millions of dollars, one thing at a time. And when you're talking to him, he's not distracted. He's like super trying to understand what you're trying to say. So like, there's people out there with just the money in their pocket, or not even money in their pocket. They're starting their resale business on a credit card, all the way to people with, I think I saw a reseller with, their average purchase was $100 million in inventory. So they were literally buying $100 million at a time, right? Compare that to a person who's buying on their credit card at dollar store. They found some, I found some Mr. Plumber, which is a knockoff of Liquid Plumber at dollar store. And it was selling for like $16 on eBay. And it was $1 at the dollar store. And I figured out you could fit 2 of them in a padded flat rate envelope, and 2 of them would sell for like $30. And you could do that with literally no money. You could go to the dollar store, list Mr. Plumber, which ain't going anywhere. It's at every single store, for $15, and undercut everybody and get your first sale with just being resourceful. So I just want people at home to think, like, there's always somebody out there with less money than you, less resources, less time, doing better than you. There's a single parent out there who literally is like only working when their kids are asleep, and they don't have childcare, take care of their kid all day, and then the kid goes to sleep, they get to work. There's a person like that that's making more money than you. So, draw inspiration from that, pick and choose what you want from this podcast, but we've been doing this for a long time. I definitely feel like I have lived 100 internet years longer than you guys, which is good, because I feel like hopefully I just feel, when I see you guys talk, I just remember myself earlier in my journey, and I just think this is so interesting, looking at how different our situations are, how differently we're approaching the exact same industry. Like somebody compared reselling to the second oldest industry in the world, and I agree with
I
that.
think
It's
that's
just
why this
selling stuff.
podcast is going to be amazing.
Yeah, very, very different ideas. And I like the approaches. They're just so different. Like, I would not have approached any of those ideas like you guys did. So, Ari, I learned some things too. I made some notes. So I'm going to actually go try a couple of things that you guys just said. So that's my thoughts.
I love it. And that's what it's all about. We're here learning together. We're a collective. But yeah, reselling, it's not just easy money. A lot of people will want to make it look that way. You'll see it on your social media feeds. But we just wanted to cover today that it is hard work and it is risk. It's consistency. It's being able to adjust. It's perseverance. And it's not for everybody. But for those of you who want to grind, like Chris was just talking about, it's one of the most scalable and creative and independent ways to build income right now. And it's only growing. We just got an email out today about the growth we all sell on Whatnot, and it's incredible how much that's growing. So that's going to conclude this episode. If you loved what you heard, please make sure that you give us a like, give us a follow, and share it with your friend. We're always open to conversation. So if you want to leave us a message or leave a comment, hey, it would be cool if you guys covered an episode on this. We're definitely open to hearing from you. We would love to hear from you. So make sure you guys join us next week. We're going to talk about reselling 101, what they never told me. And I think it's going to be a train wreck of an episode that's going to be a lot of fun, filled with horror stories and all the things that we wish we would have been told before we got started on this. So thanks for joining us. We appreciate each and every one of you. Hopefully you took something from this, and we will see you next week. Peace.